Summary of With the Old Breed by E.B. Sledge. During World War II, Eugene B. Sledge served in the United States Marine Corps. In his memoir titled With the Old Breed, he tells his experiences during that time. Sledge, a young man from Mobile, Alabama, joins the Marine Corps in December 1942, when he is 19 years old. Sledge feels he has to join the war because he loves his country and wants to protect it as much as possible. The U.S. joined the war after the Pearl Harbor attack in December 1941. Sledge first goes through officer training because his family told him to. But when Sledge learns that this kind of training includes 2 years of classes on a quiet college campus, he decides to join the Army right away as an infantryman and fight directly in the war. When Sledge first gets to boot camp, he is excited and naive, but he quickly learns that his drill teacher, Corporal Doherty, is very strict and has a cold personality. At first, Sledge hates Doherty and the other officers because they bother the trainees. But he learns later that these leaders' plan is to get new soldiers ready for the harsh reality of war, where fighters don't get much sleep, peace, or rest. After thinking about his training, Sledge comes to the conclusion that boot camp and strict training are very important for getting Marines ready for battle, where following the rules will always make them more likely to live. Once they had been trained for months, Sledge and the other new Marines finally got on a ship to go to the Pacific in February 1944. It takes them weeks to get to the island of Pavuvu, which is home to the 1st Marine Division. They train there again in New Caledonia. Sledge sees Marines who have been in many important fights, like Guadalcanal and Gloucester. He is amazed by how humble they are and how far away and uninterested they look, which is a normal emotional response after weeks of terrible battle. Sledge is excited to be joining Company K in the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division, also known as K/3/5. He is proud to be a part of the 1st Marine Division, which has a long history of bravery going back to World War I. He is thrilled to be a part of this long line of great warriors, which is called the Old Breed. After practicing landing on both land and water, Company K finally sets sail for Peleliu on September 14th, where they will fight the Japanese. Robert Oswalt is a friend of Sledge's who wants to become a doctor after the war. They talk on the ship. Sledge says that Oswalt was later killed on Peleliu and comes to the sad conclusion that war can kill the most hopeful people in society. While talking to Oswalt, Sledge realizes that he might not make it through the next day, which makes him feel incredibly scared. He isn't sure if he will be brave or weak in battle, and he needs to know if he can kill the enemy. The morning of September 15, 1944, D-Day, Sledge gets ready to fight his first battle. He chooses to follow Snafu around because Sledge feels safer with Snafu's knowledge and experience. When Sledge gets inside the Amtrak, an amphibious tank, he loses it completely. He is so scared that his heart starts to beat fast and his knees start to shake. As they get closer to the beach, Sledge is shocked to see, hear, and feel Japanese shells falling all around them, trying to hit and kill the American amphibians. According to Sledge, the shells make the air so bad that it's like being in the middle of a volcano erupting. Then Sledge and his friends get out of the Amtrak and run as fast as they can on the beach to stay away from the bullets and shells. Although Sledge makes it through this experience alive, he feels helpless as he watches Amtraks blow up and Marines die on the beach. He can't handle how unfair and pointless war is, especially since it takes the lives of so many young people. He is proud, though, to have taken this enemy land and helped his country win the war. Then Sledge sees his first enemy corpse and is terrified by it. But when he sees how casual his more experienced teammates are acting, he knows that he will probably soon stop being scared by such sights. At first, Sledge and his friends were told that the battle on Peleliu would only last 3 or 4 days. However, because the Japanese changed their plan, the battle on Peleliu turns out to be much worse and lasts much longer than anyone thought. In the years before Peleliu, the Japanese often attacked the enemy by suicide with their banzai. On Peleliu, however, the Japanese start to use a network of positions that support each other. This is a much better way to defend themselves, and the Americans have to destroy every single Japanese hideout in a long war of attrition to win the fight. Along with these new skills, Sledge says that the Japanese are known for being extreme. They often do suicide attacks at night to catch Marines in their foxholes off guard. On Peleliu, Sledge also complains about how cruel Japanese troops seem to be for no reason. He sees 3 American bodies that have been horribly mutilated by Japanese troops who have cut off different parts of the bodies and, in one case, stuffed a man's penis in his mouth. Sledge is shocked by acts of violence like these because he doesn't think his fellow Marines would be able to do them. At the same time, Sledge talks about something that Marines often do, taking souvenirs from dead Japanese soldiers. Taking out the Japanese's gold teeth with a knife is part of this. In the beginning, Sledge finds this practice disgusting, but over time, he gets used to it. He doesn't do this himself because of his friend, the corpsman Ken Doc Caswell. This keeps him from becoming a heartless fighter. Furthermore, Peleliu is a terribly dangerous place with fierce fights where Marines are exposed to close-range shell fire, which Sledge believes can make even the toughest combat veteran completely lose it. As Sledge gets used to living in a place that is always dirty, stressful, and tired, he learns that this is a world that civilians could never imagine, a world of constant violence, fear, and death that is cut off from the norms of the civilized world. The way things are in Company K, which Sledge grows to love as a family, helps him stay alive on Peleliu. Some of his soldiers are brave, kind, and smart, which makes him proud. One Night Light. Edward Jones, who is known as Hillbilly, is one of these officers that Sledge talks to. They talk about their lives in the South, and Sledge tells Hillbilly that he has a deep, crippling fear of battle that often gets the best of him. Hillbilly tells him that this is a normal response to war and that everyone feels scared, including him. Hillbilly says that the most important thing is to keep doing one's job. Sledge feels understood and safe after this talk. After that, on Okinawa, he can repay Hillbilly's kindness by calming down a scared friend in the same way that Hillbilly did. These times of friendship and unity show Sledge that friendship and unity are very important to the Marine Corps experience of war because they are the only things that make it bearable. Captain Andrew Akak Haldane is a big reason why Company K has such high morale and motivation. Sledge calls him the most liked and respected officer in the Marine Corps. Although Haldane is known for being an amazing leader, he also cares deeply about his men and is committed to protecting their lives and mental health. But Haldane is killed in action near the end of the fight of Peleliu. This event is terrible for the whole company, and Sledge feels the saddest he has ever felt during the war. The battle on Peleliu went on for longer than anyone thought it would. But now the island is safe, and Company K can go back to Pavuvu. Sergeant Haney, a respected warrior who has been fighting since World War I, says that Peleliu was the worst battle he has ever been in. This makes Sledge realize that he is right to be horrified by what he has seen. But Sledge says that historians now agree that the Battle of Peleliu probably wasn't needed in the bigger picture of World War II because it didn't bring any clear strategic wins, no matter how violent it was or how many people died. This idea makes Sledge and his friends sad because they've lost so many friends in the fight. Company K is sent back to war after months of rest and training on Pavuvu and Guadalcanal. This time they are sent to fight on Okinawa, which is Japan's last line of defense before the mainland. There, Sledge finds that his previous battle experience keeps him from freaking out like he did on Peleliu, even though he is still afraid of dying or getting hurt. Even though he still feels scared, angry, and sad, he knows that he can be a strong defender and a trustworthy friend. The fighting on Okinawa lasts for a long time, is stressful, and hurts people. Combat and Japanese attacks at night are already stressful enough for the Marines, but they have to move forward in knee-deep mud and steady rain, which can make them lose control. Sledge talks about how horrible it is to live on the island and how the men have to deal with intense close-range shooting and everyday horrible things like seeing and smelling dead bodies, maggots, and human waste. Because of these terrible conditions, the number of cases of combat fatigue and mental breakdowns is rising very quickly. Soon, Sledge sees that this scary place is having an effect on his own mind. Marines on Okinawa sometimes have to deal with pain so great that they tell themselves they are dreaming and will soon wake up. He promises himself on Okinawa that he will stay sane so that he doesn't crack up. This promise gives him the strength to keep going even when things are hard. In the meantime, Mac, the company's new mortar section boss who is just out of officer training, is rude, stupid, and mean. His actions make his workers feel disgusted and angry because he is cruel to Japanese bodies for no rhyme or reason. However, soldiers like Corporal Bergen and Light Duke are a positive change for the better. Sledge looks up to them and feels safer in battle because of them. Many people in Sledge's company, like John Redifer, do amazing acts of bravery and selflessness that help keep the spirit of the rest of the company high. As the Marines are fighting in terrible conditions on Okinawa, new events happen in international politics that affect how the war is going. On May 8, the Marines learn that Nazi Germany has given up. This is news they don't care about because May on Okinawa is the deadliest and the worst month ever. On June 21, the island of Okinawa is finally safe after weeks of dangerous fighting. After the atomic bombs are dropped on Japan on August 6 and 9, 1945, World War II ends on August 15, 1945. Sledge goes to China for 4 months of occupation service after being sent to rest on Pavuvu. He then comes back home. Even though Sledge is glad to be going home after a long time, he knows it will be hard for him to adjust to normal life again. He also has to go through a grieving process because he has to leave his Company K family, which has become his home and given him many warm, supporting friends. At the end of his story, Sledge says something about how cruel and pointless war is. Even though he keeps saying how horrible war is, he also says that the bravery and friendship of his fellow soldiers helped make it bearable. He also says that he thinks defending and dying for one's country is a sacred duty, which his fellow Marines bravely took on because he knows that other countries will always try to control each other.
About the author. Eugene Sledge grew up in Mobile, Alabama, and then went to a military college. However, he quickly quit and offered to join the Marine Corps in December 1942. He was in the Marines and fought in the Battle of Peleliu in September 1944 and the Battle of Okinawa in April 1945. He will always remember these events. Even though he didn't get hurt during the war, it took him years to get over the mental damage of fighting. After Japan gave up in August 1945, Sledge was part of the American military force in Beijing, China, for 4 months. Sledge was then formally discharged from the Marine Corps in 1946 with the rank of corporal, but he had a hard time getting used to life outside of the military. He eventually chose to turn his lifelong interest in watching birds into a job and earned a PhD in zoology from the University of Florida. Afterward, he was hired as a biology teacher at Alabama College. Sledge is best known for his literary memoirs about his time in World War II, With the Old Breed, which came out 40 years after the war in 1981, and China Marine, an infantryman's life after World War II, which came out in 2002 and is about his return to normal life after the war.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.